Well, everyone, hello. I'm happy you're here, and I want to share something that I've been using for a long, long time. And the Uranian planets help me as a medical astrologer, and they help save lives. So tonight, I'm presenting Poseidon, which is the higher octave of Neptune. And isn't it interesting for all of you astrologers out there? You know the sign Pisces, right? And so you look at the sign for Poseidon, and all it is the sign Pisces on its side. So I want to do just a tiny little bit on history, and then we'll really get into looking at Poseidon. Even though you can't see it, it has an energy. We are shifting from the age of Capricorn. We're going into the age of Aquarius right now. I'm sure none of you have missed it because we are in the middle of total world global chaos. And the energies that are coming and going are mixing. And it's like ocean chop, if you will. So even though Poseidon, you can't see it, and in your Noah 9, you can see Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and so on, they all have a frequency, they all have an energy, and they all have a vibration. And whether you like it or not, Poseidon has an energy in every one of your charts. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So Poseidon topics to be discussed tonight is the history of Uranian astrology, a tiny bit, some mythology about Poseidon, also water, the 4 phases of water. This is a very, very critical thing that I think everybody needs to know about, whether you like Poseidon or not, that doesn't matter, but it's about water. It's what we put in our body. Also, Poseidon's dark side, and it also has a light side. And the psychology of Poseidon. What is a Poseidon person like? And of course, medical issues of Poseidon. And then Poseidon's healing tools. If we dig ourselves a hole and we get sick, how do we get out of it? Especially if we have a very strong Poseidon in our chart, which if Poseidon is conjunct another planet, Noah 9 or not, doesn't matter. It's going to be utilizing its frequency to help you, but it'll be more on an intuitive level than anything else. Okay, so the history of Uranian astrology and planets. Alfred Witte was a German astrologer and a cook in the German army during World War I. And he had a lot of time on his hands, apparently. He discovered 8 invisible planets, and I call them 4D plus. What that means is they're in the 4th dimension, and then plus means the other dimensions beyond the 4th dimension. And he gave them mythical Greek names. And at that time, World War I, only Neptune had been discovered by astronomers, and Pluto wasn't discovered until 1930. When he returned home after the war, he created the Uranian, or what they call the TNPs, the Transneptune planets. They have an ephemeris on each of the 8, and they are called Kronos, Caputo, Apollon, Zeus, Poseidon, Vulcanus, Hades, and Admetos. Now, the software I use, SolarFire, also has them available, and I just plot them normally into my Noah 9 plus the 2 luminary natal charts that I do for my clients. All right, so they're in the 4th dimension, and only a clairvoyant would be able to see them. And just because you can't see them doesn't mean they aren't exerting an influence in our 3D or 3rd dimensional world. Just as you can't see energy that a particular star or constellation affects our world, being invisible doesn't negate its energy expression and its effect upon us. You can't see gravity either, can you? There's a good one. Science still hasn't figured that one out, but they know it works because we got our feet on the ground. In quantum physics, you can't see atoms and molecules that compose our reality and surroundings, yet they too exert an influence upon us as well. And again, we can't see them. I have been using Uranian astrology for nearly 50 years as a medical astrologer, and I find them powerful and relevant. They are an evolutionary upgrade to our known 9 planets and 2 luminaries. They are a higher octave of our solar system planets, and they represent the incoming age of Aquarius. Did we skip now? Okay. Next. All right. Poseidon. Let's get into the mythology. Poseidon's father was Kronos, and the Romans called him Saturn. And you're all well aware of what Saturn is. And he was the son of the Titans, Uranus, which is Uranus, and Gaia, which is Mother Earth. Kronos overthrew his father with the help of his mother. They became rulers of the universe. Then Kronos married Rhea, his sister. I'm not going there with that one, by the way. And she gave birth to the great gods of Greek mythology, including Poseidon / Neptune. Now, to prevent the reoccurrence of his father's fate, Kronos swallowed each of his children as they were born, and Poseidon / Neptune was eaten by his father. To say they were a massively dysfunctional family doesn't begin to describe his family. His last son born was Zeus, and Zeus was hidden. And when Zeus became old enough, he forced Kronos to vomit up all his siblings, which were Hades, Hera, Hestia, Demeter, and Poseidon. They then overthrew the reign of the Titans, and Poseidon / Neptune was assigned god of the oceans by his brother Zeus. I believe Poseidon is the higher octave of Neptune. Just like any other planet, if you have a ruler, one end of the ruler is white and is of the light, and the other end is dark, and it is all of our woundings, our shadows, our negativity. And there's a lot of room in between that we can be. And every planet, including the Uranian planets, have this ruler. They're not all good and they're not all bad. It just depends upon the person's incarnation and what they're trying to learn spiritually as to where they're going to be on that ruler. So consider that Alfred Witte decided to turn the Pisces symbol in a different direction. Why did he do that? And why did he call this planet Poseidon instead of Neptune? After all, he was using well-known symbols and mythology already in place with Neptune, who you can actually see in 3D. I honestly believe that Witte saw something far larger, powerful spiritual upgrades, grander and scarier with Poseidon, and that it is a 4D or a fourth dimensional planet that is of a much higher vibration speaking than Neptune. And Poseidon, what you can say about it is it is the lightest of the light, and it's the darkest of the dark. All right, Poseidon is about water. Water symbolically rules our emotions. Water is intuition. It's also our psychic skills. Water is also the cycles of the tide with a human being, a lifetime. Also, our blood moves with the tidal flows of the moon. Water also means drowning in one's emotions. I think we've all done that. And water is healing our emotions from within. Learning how to cry, especially men, need to learn how to get in touch with their emotions and learn to let go and let the tears flow freely. And water has 4 ways to express itself in us. The symbol of Poseidon has one crescent arm of the moon pointed toward Mother Earth, which means manifestation on the 3D world where we live. In other words, that arm is pulling up the energy, and Mother Earth is giving that energy into that particular arm. The other crescent-armed symbol is pointed skyward, pulling in the information from the depths, and I say here deep water, symbolically speaking, of creation, and that skill becomes manifested in and through the human being. I don't know how many of you have ever experienced a Kundalini. And if you do, you understand perfectly how this new symbol of Poseidon works. There is a grounding with the earth, and then there is the connection to the sky, to heavens and creation. And it goes through the spinal column, up through our crown chakra, and it goes down through our spinal column for our root chakra and grounding ourselves. And as you ground yourself, that energy has come from you with the help of Mother Earth to physically manifest the experience. All knowledge can be gotten and retrieved this way into a fragile human body, their heart, their spirit, and their soul. You're dealing with the highest of the high vibrational energies that a 3D human can access or handle when working with any of these 8 Uranian planets natally, transit-wise, or in progressions. Our greatest spiritual upgrades or advancement will come through Poseidon progressions. A transit will alert you to something is going to happen spiritually to you, but it is the progression that manifests it into yourself, and you have an epiphany, or perhaps an aha, as a result, and your world blossoms in heart-centered ways. You become more compassionate. You begin to work out of your heart instead of your head, which is a good thing to do for everybody. So this is the high side of Poseidon at its best. This planet bestows knowledge that has been, quote unquote, lost to humankind for thousands or perhaps millions of years. And a human is chosen to, quote unquote, download the idea, the thought, the invention into and through themselves, and then through them it manifests and goes out into the world. I think you can kind of think about some people who have done that type of thing, and maybe perhaps yourself, you have also. Poseidon's way of manifesting through the written word, podcasts, speaking to a group via a lecture or webinars, or in a school or a place of higher learning as a teacher, giving out information. This is how Poseidon best works. Okay, we're going to go into a little science here. And I've got to tell you, I'm not a scientist. I'm a mystic. I was born into a metaphysical family, and that is all I was taught for 18 years, the first 18 years of my life. So I was taught how to charge water by Oceana Fastwolf. She was an Apache Mohawk medicine woman in the 1980s. She would place a gemstone in the bottom of a small, clear glass of water and fill it half full with water. She would then show us how to charge it with a ceremony. It took a minute to do it. She would then remove the stone gently. She told us that now the water held the energy expression and the elements of that gemstone. We could drink it and receive healing benefits from it. I worked with her for 3 years, and I can tell you she was the real deal. And we saw some amazing magical and miraculous things happen with what she knew. And she also taught crystal healing. So, and everything she did was very Poseidon. And Poseidon is about revealing secrets to us that can help the world. Poseidon doesn't like the idea that if you know something, you hide it from everybody and only give it to a few. Poseidon wants the world to know so that the world can heal and lift everybody's vibration. That is Poseidon's main manifestation on the light side of the ruler. In the 1990s, Masaru Emoto of Japan wrote an incredible book called The Hidden Messages of Water. And if you have not read it, and if you're interested in utilizing water and healing gemstones or with homeopathy, it's an incredible conveyance and transport to get whatever it is to the person who needs it desperately. I read his book, and I upgraded what I had learned a decade earlier from Oceana. In 2013, Professor Gerald H. Pollack published a book. It's called The Fourth Phase of Water. Now, it's a huge book, okay, and it's very scientific. But after nearly a decade of pursuing this old idea that water only had 3 phases, which, you know, we were all taught in chemistry that water was solid, liquid, or vapor, or fog. He discovered a 4th phase of it. And in the way it goes now is that you have water that's solid, and then you have liquid crystalline phase, and then liquid and vapor. And it was found that the 4th phase, the liquid crystalline, had the powerful ability to transform and create energy. And it gets real technical, but if you buy the book or ebook, my suggestion is you go to chapter 18. It's the last chapter, and it's not in scientific terms. It's for people on the street like you and me to understand how important this is. An example of the 4 phases of water in homeopathy, and by the way, I'm a professional homeopath. I've written books about it, and I've been a homeopath since 1980. Is the 4 phases of water with homeopathy. It's a global alternative medicine used by many, and it is quantum physics in action. It starts with water and a substance. For instance, the example I give is a snake venom from a South American snake, Lachesis muta. And the venom is placed in the water. And at a particular potency, there is no longer any crude substance of the snake venom detected in the water. The venom cannot be discerned by any instrument up to and including today in 2023. Yet, the venom of the snake's molecules and atoms are still held in the element of water in all of its phases. And it cures people who need this particular remedy. Homeopaths have been keeping records of symptoms for each specific remedy they have proved through giving it to volunteers, who we call provers, to see what the symptoms will create, so we know who needs it for the symptoms when they get it when they're sick. So Poseidon's water is 4 phase, and I believe homeopathy is under the rulership of Poseidon because of the quantum physics of this healing form that's practiced around the world. And you have great homeopaths in Australia, by the way. Water holds molecules, electrons, protons, neutrons, atoms that make it different from any other element here on Earth. And this is the gift that Poseidon gave us via Samuel Hahnemann, who created and devised homeopathy in the first place. He was born in 1755 and passed on in 1843. As we move into the 21st century regarding homeopathy, his original template still holds. It's one of the few forms of energy medicine currently on our planet, and it has saved millions of lives, saved even more millions from pain and suffering, and who received healing as a result of its use. In the United States, homeopathy was the main medicine from the late 1700s through 1910, and herbalism was a secondary healing choice in our country. Chinese medicine and the energy meridian system is another energy medicine, for example, as is laying on of hands, which my mother did, and radionics and so on. Now, symbolically, the water having 4 phases, which is quantum physics in action, you can't see it, weigh it, or measure it, but it exists. And I find it very satisfying that ongoing work with this newly discovered scientific construct is part of the age of Aquarius, which is now underway in our world. Fantastical ideas, amazing inventions like robots, scientific breakthroughs are coming right, left, and center. We now have AI, which is artificial intelligence, and new creativity are now pouring into our 3D world. Poseidon and water are at the light end of its expression, has gifted us with one of the highest human frequencies we can handle, a miracle evolution in progress so that we can save the world. Love is going to save this world. Peace is going to save this world. And Poseidon is going to be there with us. But it all has to be done together as one. and it quote unquote takes a village to make it so. We either work together or we will destroy ourselves if we don't. The path of the heart is the only way Poseidon offers us in this time of chaos. And united we stand, divided we fall. And as always, it's free will choice. So now let's talk about Poseidon's dark side. Every planet, seen or unseen, has a light side and a dark side. Imagine a measuring ruler, and on the one end is light, the other end is dark. And as I said before, in the middle is a huge gray area where most of us are at. Here's an example of Poseidon's darkest side. I don't know what you read in high school, but I read Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle in German, and it was by Adolf Hitler. I read it when I was in the 10th grade, and I never forgot it. The book really upset me. And the book is How to Use Fear, Gaslighting, and Racism to Stampede an Entire Country and all of its inhabitants as a result. He published it on July 18th, 1925. He took his lurid manifesto of his Aryan race versus anti-Semitic, the Jews, and outlined his political ideology and future plans for Germany. Never mind, he was born in Austria. Little by little, he followed his own plan until it was complete. Poseidon's ability to communicate is next to none. The expression of this dark side is to reach not locally or even regionally, but the entire country or the world and infect the globe and all people within that gaslighting talent. Poseidon does it better than any other planet or luminary. This is global power. 1984 came true. And this is the real danger of Poseidon's dark side. Today, right now, starting in 2015 through today, 2023, we have another male, Trump, who utilizes communication and bombastic racism against women and any other skin color but white. And he too has split the USA, just as Hitler split Germany between the white Germans and the ethnic religious Jews. The times are different, but the authoritarian fascist kind of male has done it twice in my lifetime. Poseidon's influence in our spirit and our mental world is the core of it on the light side. There is a fragility associated with this planet. It could be spiritual, mental, emotional, or physical. Because it is a waterborne planet, our fueled emotions support the base of the human. But mental stability or instability is where it usually nests first, our brain, our mind. It is our mental construct that we create to live in this incarnation. Do we have a mental distortion buried in darkness, or are we a mind opening to light instead? The light of spirit. The person is interested in truth, enlightenment, spiritual development, evolvement, philosophy. The search for truth with strong moral value, integrity, and honor in place are present in anyone who has Poseidon, and they are at the light end. These people are trusting and are honest to a fault. They seek spirituality above all and everything they do every day. And I might add that they are people of peace, people of harmony, people who want to work together as a village and for the goodness of all people. On the dark side of spirit, you have cult leaders, people who follow a cult, who become mindless, giving their power away to another, does not know truth from lies. They're gullible. Facts don't matter. Fueled by dark emotions within the cult, usually rage, revenge, racism, and you notice they all start with an R. Examples are Hitler, Jim Jones, who was in the United States, killed over 400 people with Kool-Aid, making them think that it wasn't good to stay on this earth anymore, that it was so bad that they should die and go to heaven. David Koresh of the Branch Davidians in the United States, same thing. Marshall Applewhite, which was Heaven's Gate. Everybody drank the apple juice or whatever it was they drank that was poison, and they thought that they would go to the stars and live instead. And then you have Trump. I should tell you, just as a well, let's see, let's say this is a side addendum. Trump was born, I think, on June 12th or June 16th, 1946. I was born May 24th, 1946. He and I are what you consider astrology twins. The only two things that are different in our chart is he's got a moon at 22 or 21 Sagittarius, and I have a moon at 10 Pisces. And to make this more interesting, my ascendant is 27 Leos. His is 29 Leo. I have Regulus conjunct Regulus, which is a fixed star, is conjunct my ascendant in the 12th house. And he also has it same placement, 12th house on the ascendant. We both have Taurus on the midheaven. Mine is at 2359 Taurus, and his is at 24 Taurus. So, to say the least, he's the darkest of the dark, and I am as light as I can try to be as an imperfect human. But I use my ability to speak and write to lift up humanity, not degrade it or kill it. So let's go to Poseidon psychology number 2. On the unhealthy side, a heavy energy individual, a person who uses their intellect to manipulate others with their lies. They are brainwashers, they're swindlers, they're liars. And a lot of politicians fall into this. Cultist types, con artists, fraudulent people who prey on other people, religious zealots, fanatics of any kind. Their philosophy and way of believing, religion is better than anyone else's. They're into propaganda. They do spin doctoring. Their gaslighting is taken to its highest level in art form by both Hitler and Trump. Brainwashed by a religious cult is another sad thing that happens. They are cult leaders, they're religious vigilantes, they're religious fanatics. They're religiously fueled terrorists anywhere in the world and from any religion. History shows us most of all major religions have murdered in the name of their particular beliefs. Not all of them, but most of them. Jim Jones, like I said, I was wrong. Leader of the People's Temple killed 909. I said 400, so I was wrong. It's 909 followers because of his own sick, distorted perspective. And the people were brainwashed and believed him, and they drank the Kool-Aid and died. And this included children, which was just heartbreaking. People like Poseidon, who are closer to the darker end and in a darker gray area, can be very close-minded. Once they have their mental construct of their world in place, they usually cannot change it. They are highly opinionated, highly judgmental. They are totally rigid in their belief system or how they see the world in general. Now, the open-minded Poseidon person who's more on the light end, okay, they're just the opposite type. They have a live and live attitude toward everyone. They understand there are millions of realities, and they don't draw judgment on others and their beliefs as a result of that. They have a live and let live attitude. Okay, on the healthy side, Poseidon rules over healing, is uplifting, supports positive breakthroughs, and the power of words coming from a Poseidon person have a lot of weight to them. And if the people are of the light, the words are uplifting to them. It triggers something within the individual who hears them speak. And it does good things for them. It's almost an epiphany or an aha moment sometimes. People will be found in many kinds of light vocations, but their skills are about speaking, writing, and teaching. You will find them at universities and colleges as teachers, professors, academia, and they are also in our country called paper chasers. They will be found in the media as what I call talking heads for newscasts, talk show hosts. They are writers of fiction and nonfiction books. They will be on the internet with websites, podcasts, as moderators with their own unique mailing list, or as a blogger. And I might add that Julia's beautiful website certainly falls under a very Poseidon kind of energy. It really showcases Poseidon on its light side. It's a beautiful website. You will also find them in politics, in courts of law, as judge or lawyers. Now, the dark side. They will go to communes, be part of a spiritual unit, clan, or cult. They give their power away, and it's usually to a male. Any figure that rises to power through the spoken word, and you can think here of politicians, newspaper reporters, movie stars, dictators, spin doctoring, lies and deception to the public, and religious leaders such as the Catholic priests who covered up pedophiles in their ranks and harmed so many thousands upon thousands of children. It's unforgivable, in my opinion. And here in the United States, we had Tucker Carlson, who was a so-called talking head, and many others at the Fox News, and they turn out to all be liars. And 30% of the American people believe that the 2020 presidential election was stolen. This is the dark side of Poseidon. I like to go back and forth between light and dark because it gets almost too much if you start giving one side or the other. And I like balancing off. I have 2 planets in Libra, so we see both sides. All right, the light side of Poseidon, a person may be a think tank specialist, a daydreamer. They are visionaries for the future. And I'm talking about any kind of vision. They're idea people. I mean, they think so far outside the 3D envelope, it isn't even funny. But their ideas are the ideas that are coming in for the age of Aquarius. You might call them canaries in a mine in a positive sense of what they're bringing with them. That's going to help people around the world. These people are of the light. All of it is in the mental sphere only. These people prefer jobs, institutions where the mind and the qualities of the mind are utilized. There are inventions by a person. They're innovative and they have common sense, which, you know, usually I've met enough what I call airheads from universities who are so deeply ingrained in what they're doing, but they don't live very practical, common sense lives. But with Poseidon, you get a real change and a real upgrade on this. These people are grounded. They have common sense. They create practical inventions that serve humanity. And don't be surprised. Most people who have a Poseidon conjunct one of their planets, whether it's the Noan 9 or another Uranian planet, chances are you have a genius of some sort. And I want to be careful here. Genius means that it's a very narrow area of knowledge. It isn't like you know everything in the world about everything. No, this is about one particular area. But that genius mentality is so sharpened and and so full of light that it sheds light on things that most of us never ever think of or ever question. They always ask the most interesting questions. You will find them in any kind of mental work where they are being tested and challenged mentally, for that is where they feel most alive and of most useful to themselves and to the world. They always think in global or regional or something outside their family. They're looking at the whole world and saying, how can what I know help other people? That is such a Poseidon way of looking at the world. And so they're able to make these quantum leaps to connect ideas. And you will find today scientists, quantum scientists, or any field where serious mental exercise and connections are primary, that is their bailiwick. They're also great in computer coding and software and things like that too. A common sense, nuts and bolts type of person who can put a far-flung idea into practical everyday application and usage by humanity is a Poseidon person. And, isn't it interesting, when you talk about Neptune and Poseidon, in Neptune, you don't get those qualities. And yet they're both born of the same sign, except one's tipped on the side and the other's upright. And it both originally comes out of the seen planet Neptune. And yet Poseidon is giving us a much more fascinating look at it when it's upgraded and improved upon. One or more spiritual or esoteric sides of Poseidon, its vibration produces mystics such as prophets, spiritualists, mediums, clairvoyants, shamans, visionaries, astrologers, tarot readers, and those who are able to penetrate the veil to the other worlds. That's 4D plus. And they are all in their own way in search of truth and enlightenment for themselves and others. Universal messengers who bring truth and light to our dark world globally, regionally, or to us as an individual as well. They can be a prophet. They probably won't call themselves that, but others may see them as that. And this is a person who has the truth come through them, and they deliver it to the people. It could be an author, a speaker, a teacher, someone who comes into your life to give you truth in order to catalyze you and to let go of your own distortion, belief, or perception for a healthier model. Or a moment, an epiphany, or an aha. These people of the light are capable, and they're good at reading patterns, and they're good at translators for the world. They can see the micro and the macrocosm of a situation symbolically and translate it into something that you can understand and work with. These people work on what I call an archetypal and mythological level. And the ability to translate complex ideas into simple understanding so that every one of us can grasp and understand it. And I always call a very Poseidon type of person a cosmic translator of light. They have tremendous insight. They have clarity. They define what they're talking about. And they know truth. They know right from wrong. And above all, they see the overview. And these are your pattern readers. It isn't just one little thing that happened, but they see the entire pattern around it. And that's a phenomenal gift to have. And that comes right out of your right hemisphere of your brain. On the dark side, these people can be in their head and cut off from their emotions. Here in the US, we call them head trippers. You may have a different name for them there in Australia. A person who is disconnected, out of touch, repressed or suppressed emotionally, and who lives only in their head. I know you all know people like this. In time, this will create health problems. Generally, these people have suffered great trauma earlier in their lives to put them into this type of prison. It's a mental prison. and it's an emotional one also. They have a lack of trust in oneself. They don't even trust themselves. They aren't going to trust you. I can guarantee it. I don't care if you're family or, you married them. There's a broken trust there. There's a lack of faith in any future for themselves. And this creates low self-esteem and inability to trust their own sense of knowing. And especially sad is they don't trust their own inner voice, their intuition either. At its worst, there can be criminal behavior. They can be amoral. They lack integrity. They have the ability to swindle others, create fraudulent schemes to bilk money from others. They can be a chronic liar. And they think that lying is perfectly all right to do. Or they twist the truth and give his or her own version of it. And they always embellish the truth. And the darkest side of it is the selling of drugs. Now, it's the use of recreational drugs to get high. Some recreational drugs I don't put into that, but just in general speaking, use of any drug to get high is an escape the pain of living and escape to a world where the pain is dulled or goes away for a while. Really dark drugs such as heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, and LSD up to a point. It has some really good things about it in particular, but for trips they take in their head. And the thing that I want to really emphasize here with people who are drug addicts is that they usually come out of a terribly traumatic childhood or past where their mental realm has been split, torn, or mutilated by abuse of some sort, either by the family or a member of the family. And they're trying to escape reality as it is as a result. It's mental destruction by emotions. Okay, metaphysical ideas that come, this is the light side, this is the positive side, that come through this Poseidon person, and they speak, teach, write, or whatever they know about to share with the world. And they are charged with being servants to the earth to lift the vibration of the planet through what they know and share. They ground and they manifest their ideas and their creativity for others to use in our 3D world. We need every one of these people. And a lot of the children that are being born now have this high Poseidon energy in them. They are fluent linguists. Their ability to speak two or more foreign languages is common. They have an ear for sound and music. And I think that sound has been one of the most not looked at elements of the human being for healing. And we'll get into that a little later. They're able to pick up a foreign language very easily, or the person can speak to the masses and their message creates inroads and upliftment for those who are listening to them. Sound being used in medicine to heal another. Often plays an instrument. They could be a songwriter or they sing. Sound vibration is their specialty. They also love to dance to a beat of music and they become the beat. Another very powerful Poseidon tool and ability is the power of words that can change a person's life in a millisecond, or a group, a region, a country, and yes, the world. That is the power of Poseidon. So I need all of you to speak up, share what you know, because it could change our world for the better, and such is the power of Poseidon. It would be fun to see the people who have come for this particular webinar to see the Poseidon in your charts to see where it's at. Now, Poseidon may be found in the dying of a person. These are medical issues about Poseidon, and there are definitely planets that have to do with passing on. But Poseidon is one of them. And it has the power of passing as strongly as the others, which is the moon's nodes, Saturn, Hades, Pluto, Admetos, and Poseidon. Poseidon is a planet about spirit entering matter, and then at the end of life, returning the soul back to the spirit world. It means leaving the physical body to return to the amorphous multi-dimensions of the 4D plus when the spirit leaves that body behind. And it will be a gentle passing, which is really nice. I love to see Poseidon when I know someone's going to be passing, because they usually pass over during their sleep. The spirit gently leaves the body. For me, as a medical astrologer, that is a good passing because it's done without fear, anxiety, distress, or rancor. I frequently see people pass who go in their sleep are people that are just common people. They're not great. They're not known. Uh, they're just like you and I, and yet they've done some really good, kind, compassionate things for humanity throughout their lives. And they are the ones that I see that go in their sleep. And I think that's a beautiful thing. There's also mental disorders ranging from acute psychotic break or chronic psychosis, schizophrenia, and OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorders, are all under Poseidon's watch from a medical standpoint. Mental disorders of the brain, including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and other central nervous system disorders. Also, a Poseidon person may be mentally challenged and may be bipolar. They may have autism or Down syndrome as an example. And I'll say this, that I don't care in the bipolar, the autism, and the Down syndrome, I've treated a number of them over the years. These are good people. They got back in my day in the 1960s and 70s, they were looked down upon, and they shouldn't be because they're brilliant. They all have contributions to humanity and to others, and they're good people. They're just dealing with a kind of a changed brain, if you will. But I'm happy to see that, particularly with autism and Down syndrome people, the word's getting out that they're just as human as anybody else, or the bipolar, and so is anyone else with a mental issue. But it's nice to see that is changing for the better. Okay, spiritual crises come under medical issues, and that includes Kundalini unfoldment. And if it goes wrong, there could be a number of health implications on any one of the following levels. It could be spiritual, mental, emotional, or physical. Or it can go right, okay, and a spiritual expansion or nirvana occurs instead. I've had two spontaneous kundalinis in my life a long time ago, and they went right. And it's an incredible thing, but it is a Poseidon thing. That and Uranus. Uranus will also give you spontaneous kundalini expression also. So drug exploration and or addiction. Now, I kind of draw the line here because not all drugs, hallucinogenic drugs, are bad, and they're finding that out more and more. But the indigenous people of the world have known this forever. It's too bad that the scientists don't listen to them instead of saying that they're all bad for us, because they aren't. So the reason is to escape into the refinement of their head tripping or their mental realm, either out of curiosity or a need to explore the inner landscape of their mind in a serious way. Even though it's linked with curiosity, there's still a level of seriousness toward wanting to get to either the coal in your sock that's deep inside your psyche, or finding out who you really are underneath the Maya of our reality here in 3D. Also, people use drug exploration for enlightenment, and I think that's kosher. I think that's fine. If that is where you're being pushed, I see no problem with it. And here in the US, they are doing a lot at Harvard University and several other well-known universities with the use of psilocybin, which is a hallucinogenic mushroom. And they're able to help people who have PTSD or fear of dying because they have cancer and things like that. And inevitably, the mushroom helps ease and makes the transit, if they're going to pass on, easy, or it changes their lives and they no longer, for instance, have the PTSD and they can go on living like a real human being then. So, and there's also some people who drug exploration if they're bored, you know, just because. And then you have the last type, which is to do it to escape this pedestrian world. I dare say that this world is so overstressed here for the last 3 years because of the epidemic and now what's going on in the world right now, that everybody wants to escape. And so I wouldn't be surprised there's a lot more people looking at drug exploration to help them sort of soothe the high constant stress that never goes down. It just keeps amping up, amping up, amping up. So crisis of consciousness, you know, this is a person that may experience a mental or a nervous breakdown. That's under Poseidon's rulership. Sometimes it is a breakdown, though, to make a breakthrough to a new level of understanding within ourselves. So I don't see them as necessarily bad, but hopefully they're getting the help too to motor through it. It can also involve spiritual crisis as well, or both. And the drug of choice, at least in the United States right now, seems to be psilocybin and some chemical made up ones. But psilocybin seems to really be showing what it's worth in a very positive way. But this is a Poseidon type of issue that is coming up to the light of day to show people that just because you take a drug doesn't mean that you're an addict. You can take it to help yourself. And if somebody asks me, have I done it? And the answer is no. I don't touch drugs of any type. I don't need to. Okay, so medical issues 3. Under Poseidon, dyslexia, the reordering of the brain, stammering, and speech disorders in general are ruled by this planet. TBD, which is traumatic brain injury, TBI, I'm sorry. Epilepsy, or this is for a person who creates a world in their head to live in, which, you know, it has its ups and downs and its positives and negatives. I'm a fiction writer, so I live up in my head a lot. But then again, when I get done writing that chapter for the day, I come out of it and then I become my little 3D self again. So it just depends. Also, people who are out of touch with mundane reality. Now, you get into people who are disassociated. Again, due to my experience, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I am a medical astrologer, and I have dealt with a lot of people who are disassociated. And almost always the disassociation comes from brutal trauma, shock and trauma. And so, and again, I'm with Poseidon, I'm glad to see that this is coming up, but that we should be more gentle and less harsh in what we think, why the person behaves the way they do. We don't know the rest of their story. Poseidon also rules over hyperactive people, ADD or ADHD, which is attention deficit disorder, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. These people, Poseidon people, can be too spiritually sensitive to live in this harsh world of ours. In its extreme, these people feel as if they have no skin to protect themselves from our harsh pain, suffering, and reality. And I'm not joking. I have had a number of Poseidon clients over the years who have literally told me they feel like someone has pulled the skin off their body. It's very painful for them to live down here. They also create a fantasy world to live in instead of the harsh reality of 3D incarnation. And again, it depends upon how far that's taken. If you're writing children's books about, fairies or goblins or unicorns or magic places, say Harry Potter books, they're definitely Poseidon books. And that helps to temper the harsh reality that we live in here in this world. So let's talk about Poseidon healing tools, because after you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly here, okay, we'd like to have some hope about what we can do to help ourselves here. The way that you get into healing is by using the imagination of their mental faculties to whatever capacity may increase their self-esteem. Suggesting that they try their hand at writing or taking a class of writing or learning how to do it is helpful. This may help also to tap into their immense mental creativity. Or join a speech or debate class, or teaching what they know, even though they don't think that what they know is very much. To other people, it can look like gold that they found, but they don't understand that the way they see the world, which is different, could be very, very helpful to the rest of us. Also, to play a musical instrument, to sing and dance or write songs. And I'd like to put in here that, little children, give them coloring books, teach them how to paint with tempera paints when they're young. And work with clay or modeling types of clay. And these children, these Poseidon children, that's just gonna create even more neurons up in their brain than you can ever guess. So let them go toward beauty, toward color. They love bright colors. And also the use of cell phones, television, and the internet, they're all powerful brain stimulants for Poseidon children or adults to trigger their vast, voracious hunger for mental exploration, also for their education and their own particular brand of truth. All of these things can get them in trouble, but it can also keep them out of trouble. It just depends. Education may be their way out of any trap or prison. Schools that encourage creative growth may become the healing unguent for their spirit. Or to simply become a vagabond and go explore the world on their own terms. They are our daydreamers. They are of the imaginal world. They are the writers of our children's books, or books on fantasy or science fiction. They definitely have an otherworldly cast to their spirit and their soul. Now, opening up consciously through a mental practice such as meditation, or unconsciously receive more internal or external awareness of what reality is and is not to you. This is really important to Poseidon. They are very strongly drawn to TM or to meditation. A lot of Poseidon children love to go for walks in the park, to talk to the trees. They love to go hiking. They want to be in the woods. They want to be around trees. That's very healing and very harmonizing and balancing for them. And besides, getting them out of school and getting them to, get exercise is always a good thing. Okay, understanding that everything is Maya or an illusion. The breaking through and grasping of this fundamental 3D, our three-dimensional reality isn't real. It's a school of learning. It's much like the holodeck on Star Trek. Quite literally, it is. Spiritual breakthroughs that bring everyday awareness to a person, and they turn around and they use it to upgrade their vibrational frequency. This is happening right now. There are so many people going through a a psychic regeneration or alteration or upgrade right now that it's not even funny. And it's because the higher vibration of the Aquarian age is coming in and we have to meet it. And so we are meeting it. It's just that it's not always pleasant, or you don't know what you're doing some days, or whatever your day you had planned is just scratched, and you go off an entirely new direction. You don't get upset about it. You just get into it, you wade into it, and you do whatever is asked of you. That's very Poseidon. They don't stand around and have temper tantrums, believe me. They just get on with it. So this person is at their core, they are in better harmony with the flow of energy in all the dimensions that simultaneously permeate one another down here. And a Poseidon person, if they're in balance, even if you're in the middle of the ruler, right? Not at either end, but if you're in the middle of that ruler right now, and you have a strong Poseidon in your chart, you're going to be able to take the ups and downs and the jolts and the shocks that we've been going through for the last 5-6 years a lot better than most people. And it's almost as if redundancy or having a place where you can have a soft landing is automatically built into the Poseidon person. They don't get upset and are like a top that is spinning out of control. Once they hit a wall on something, or there's some tragic thing that happens, or something shocking happens, they don't go down to the emotional level. They look up, and they are more in their head, and they're looking at the pattern, or they're looking at more of the energy that's around, and how can they help? How can they get people to be more stable as a result of that? Also, synchronistic occurrences allow them to double check and understand that they have reached a new inner plateau of awareness and connection with the Creator. And I would say that everyday magic is another term for synchronicity. And there is no other planet that I have seen, whether it's Uranian or whether it's the Noah 9 and the 2 luminaries, that has more magic around them than a Poseidon person. And it's just phenomenal. I'm an author and I can't put words into it, but I have seen it in action in these people. And they are just amazing human beings. You want to be around them because they feed the goodness in the heart and the light in everybody. And they can just be somebody that you passed on the street, but as soon as you pass them, you feel better because your auras went through each other, and there was a gift, there was a giving coming from that person. And that is why Poseidon is so important to us. So, looking at a chart, see where yours are at is, I think, a very, very important thing to do, so that you can find out how beautiful soul you really are, how good you really are, that you practice compassion and you practice peace and you practice love, and you don't try and go out and hurt anybody. And that really is a Poseidon way of looking at the world. Okay, number 3. In 1999, The Matrix came out. I don't know how many of you saw The Matrix. I saw it. I died laughing. I had to leave the theater because I was laughing, and nobody thought that was funny around me. So I walked out and I watched it from above and kept my mouth shut, because what they were doing is 4D plus. And I come from a family where I was taught shamanic ways of dealing with things. And when I do a journey for somebody as a shaman, that's what I see. I see all of the inner dimensions, and I see all the stuff that's going on. So The Matrix was, I think, a great bell ringer to start the Poseidon energy starting to come in and what it was capable of doing. And then we had another movie, And I know I'm dating myself. I realize we may have a lot younger people here who don't even know what the Matrix was, but if you don't and you're interested, go watch it. But there was another one that was called What the Bleep Do We Know? And this movie was a sleeper hit in 2004, and it presents a viewpoint of the physical universe and human life within it, and connections to neuroscience, nanotechnology, and quantum physics. The movie is an example of Poseidon in action and teaching us about ourselves, our connection with the Creator, and all our relations. It was a beautiful movie. I loved it. That the universe is the best seen as constructed from thoughts and ideas rather from matter. And that so-called empty space that the physicists used to call it is not so empty, and it is dark matter instead. Another movie, Avatar in 2009, I hope you got to see, is another Poseidon example. And it carried a lot of very loaded, serious warnings with it as well. That matter is not solid. Electrons are able to pop in and out of existence without it being known where they disappear, are in Poseidon's realm. It's the now you see it, now you don't world. Again, Poseidon. That beliefs about who one is and what is real are a direct cause of oneself and one's own realities. And that's true. But Poseidon people tend to be extremely self-aware. I know when I go home at night after my day, I do an internal review on everything that went on that day, what I said, how I felt, how the other person felt or reacted to it. Could I have handled it better? Could I have said something differently that would have been kinder or nicer? And a self-aware person, and Neptune people are also self-aware, but they may not carry it to the end as Poseidon does. They not only get self-aware, they make the changes so that they become a better human being internally, and that they work on that day in and day out. And it isn't like you get them go, oh, I got to be a better person today. That's not what I'm saying. But you're measuring yourself in compassion. I have a statue of Kuan Yin, who is on my altar, and I love having her there because I see her every day, all day long, and it reminds me to stay compassionate, even if there's a lot of stuff going wrong. I look at her and I understand that, okay, I need to just sit back, relax, let things work their way out. Don't get impatient, because I'm a Gemini, and that works a lot. So anyway, also in all of this stuff in the science, the peptides that are produced by the brain can cause bodily reaction to emotion. They sure do. Okay, so moving from religion into a thoughtful awareness, much like Buddhism, about yourself is an important step, in my personal opinion. Mental creativity, which may turn into writing, screenwriting, or poetry, or books, or short stories, or children's books. Also, yoga and meditation to help stimulate the spiritual side of yourself and your intellect are all Poseidon abilities and skills. Poseidon people can read. Now, this is an important one. They can read a symbol and understand its underpinnings to our 3D world and beyond reality, and how it affects us as human beings. One of them that I want to bring in is sacred geometry. And I have some information on that and a lot of experience with one of the sacred geometry forms that I'm going to be getting out to the world here probably in the next 3 to 4 months. And it's going to help everybody, because what it does, as I discovered quite by synchronistic accident back in probably 2003 in Glastonbury, England, at Chalice Garden, that it helps to balance you and bring your entire auric fields, all 9 of them, back into working rhythmic order with you, rather than being spun out because you had an emotional blow up or an argument with somebody. If you use a symbol, it brings you right back into the best center that you can be, understanding we're imperfect, so it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be the best it can be for you, and it's going to calm things, and most important, it's going to de-stress you. So I'm hoping to get this out in the next 4 months, and I'll certainly be talking to Julia about it for sure. Because it's given away free. It's everybody. There's no money involved. I just want to see some people come down and get de-stressed, and we can use the energy of one of these symbols and do it. And it's wonderful. And I do it every morning when I get up after I go potty. I go do this, and I'll teach you how to do that. So sacred geometry is one of Poseidon's major understandings, and it's about math and spirit combined, which, they're head trippers, also leading to understanding about how it can affect their own life or the lives of others. So living in a career of cutting edge quantum physics, expanding our understanding of the universe, seen and unseen, and that we are all connected, is part of the Poseidon way of looking at life. Ask them to teach you what they know. This builds self-esteem while people receive information from this individual, okay? And they're all around. You just have to kind of keep your ears open, and synchronicity will take over. An example is Nassim Haramein. He's a quantum physicist. He's here on the left here. He's a leader in what they call unified physics. And he is the best blend of science and mystic, is an example of Poseidon in action in a world of the seen and unseen today. You can, if you have a chance or if you're interested, this man is 100% Poseidon. And if you want to see one in action, just see some of his videos. They're on Gaia.com and several other places. So just write in his name, Google it, and you'll find something. Listen to him. Just listen to what he says. It's just, he's an amazing individual. Okay, so last slide here. This is kind of a joke. It's a funny. I think it's funny. It's a liberated Poseidon person who is multidimensional, and this is the case in point. They don't see a road. They just see it's something to swim in. They have a weird kind of way of looking at the world, but it's okay.